if you are spinning out of control, if life is spinning out of control for you, and you bring that tornado into your company, it literally is going to rip through your company, and everybody's going to experience what you're feeling as well. It's an energy, it's the vibration. I don't know what other way to be able to say it, because there's a lot of times people don't have to say that they're in a shitty situation at home, or things are tough, or they're frustrated. You can sense it. And like, they're just like animals. Like, your agents are just like animals. Your teams are just like animals. People can sense your energy.
Welcome to the Leading Lane podcast for real estate pros by real estate pros with your hosts, Ashley Frederick and Stephen Birch. If you're looking for an honest, authentic, and raw perspective, you found it.
Welcome to the Leading Lane podcast. After some tech issues today, we're finally rolling. Our topic that we were starting to talk about, that will re-roll for a bit, is how everything basically starts from the top. It rolls downhill. Is pretty much the simplest way to be able to put it. And what what are we really going through on this? Like, we know that life is crazy right now. Transactions are nuts. We're
Mhm.
leaders. It's kind of a shit show. Like, we that's literally what we just said before we press play. It's kind of a shit show right now. So how do you act when it's a shit show as a leader with the rest of your team?
Yeah, I think there's a lot going on, right? Like there's a lot in the world. Like real estate is weird. There's like some really good things. There's some strange things. I think like some people are super busy, some people are super slow, some agents are getting cranky in transactions. I think one thing that we were talking about too is like in inspection requests, we used to see like
Mhm.
everything is fine, I'll take it as is. And now we're kind of back to I want the kitchen sink, to come with the house, and I want this fixed, and I want this outlet fixed. So it's very different, right? And
Mhm.
I think it's also maybe agents that got into the business in the last 5 years. It's different than what they're used to too. It's price
Sure.
reductions and open houses and more negotiating instead of the offers that didn't have inspections. Um, and so I think there's just a craziness, if you will, that people are feeling. And I guess probably maybe for you and I, we've been through those roller coasters before,
Mhm.
as not necessarily, I mean, I wasn't a leader in those roller coasters, right? I was in the thick of things when things were
Mhm.
up, down, houses on the market for 8 months, right? So now that we're in this leadership role, I think that there's, for me, maybe just a sense of calm because
Mhm.
we've weathered the storm before. And I think that that's what people are looking for is the calm and the reassurance that this isn't forever.
Mhm.
Or maybe we need to be doing things differently. Maybe you were kind of skating by before, and maybe it's a wake up call that you do have to put the work in. You do have to follow up with leads. You do have to be involved with your
Mhm.
sphere where people kind of forgot about that. But I also think it's being the problem solver. So, man, I feel like that has been like the last 3 weeks is all problem solving, like
Mhm.
crazy shit coming up. Like, how did that come up? Or crazy expectations, or I want a $30,000 roof, even though the roof does not need to be replaced. And, I think I was talking about that with someone else earlier. Like, you have to have the ability to problem solve because there are so many other agents that are just going with the flow and yeah, seller, make the $30,000 roof when
Mhm.
you have three roofers that are saying not to, right? So I think it's really digging into your sphere of people as well, like your contractors and everything, and making sure that they're on board. So I guess the way that I just handle the chaoticness, for me, it's calm. Like I normally like to not show my cards, right? Like poker face, resting bitch face, whatever you want to call it, is how I prefer in these craziness. Like, right? Think somebody else was saying that, like, you don't ever seem like you're flustered. And I was like, but what does that solve? Like, what does
Mhm.
getting flustered really solve in the big scheme of things? So I think just trying to talk through, maybe trying to understand where people are coming through and trying to be more so their light of, hey, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Did you think about this? Can we try that? Don't give up yet.
And I think that we, as high performers, we are able to truly work better through the chaos. And it's almost ass backwards of when it's slow and there's not chaos, it's like, what's wrong? And then it's something that we're not used to. Um, but really also like I think it's a huge thing about your energy. I don't care if it's the co-oping agent that you're negotiating the deal with, your client, the vendor, contractor, or an agent that is working for you. It's all about your energy and how you are controlling and composing yourself. And if you are going to be coming at this with, balls blazing, just going all over the freaking place, and the world's on fire, and like people are going to match your energy with what you're throwing to them. And so it's being very conscious of how you are approaching, how you are wording what you're trying to deliver, and making sure that you're putting in a manner for the other person to comprehend without your emotion all tied up into it as well. So I think there's so many different dynamics because that's all we do is we deal with people all day long. And it does become tiring. And there are times that I want to, karate chop somebody in their throat and tell them that they're crazy. But I can't. And, I
Fine.
want to have that calmness. I really want to. I can't lie. But you have to have that calmness because as soon as you show your cards, if you will, then I think the whole game shifts and changes, and it's because of how you approached it, and it's how you're leading people. So, like when you're in that chaos, holding those cards, like what does that really mean? Like, how can you give an example of what holding back those cards truly mean? Is my fucking shit
It's
messing up
fine.
again?
Okay. What was the
Okay,
question?
give a real life example of what holding the cards truly means when you really want to be screaming at the top of your lungs.
Yeah, holding the cards. So I mean, I think it's people want to like jump to an automatic answer or an
Mhm.
automatic no, that's not right. So um for like example, right, we had a inspection where a uh inspector said the roof was end of life and it's not end of life. And the buyer had a roofer come over that is known for overquoting and wanting roofs. So it was like $32,000, right? So that other agent was just like, "Yep, we're going to ask for a $30,000, increase or decrease. I'm sorry, or credit." And I think like showing the cards or whatever would be kind of flying off the hook, like you're absolutely nuts, never going to happen. Seller's not going to do it. We're trying to take a different approach of um, I think it would be beneficial to get some other opinions, right?
Mhm.
So got two other roofers that didn't know that they were being, against someone else, and they both said that it had 10 years left on it and they would not recommend replacing it. So just a simple, got the statements from the roofers, presented them to the other agent. There's no craziness that needed to go about
Mhm.
it, right? Lo and behold, they didn't ask for a new roof,
Mhm.
right? So I think there's just a point where, like, if you would have called and gone off the roof or gone off the hook, that would have been bad. But have you gone off the hook about how crazy they were? Don't. I mean, did I say that to myself? And did I say that to
Mhm.
my contractor husband? Like, yes.
Mhm.
But right, if you know your people, if you keep your calm, you have all the supporting documents that support where you're coming from. Like, it just makes it a lot harder for that person to come back with that request, right? But in the
Mhm.
same sense, like, had I not done that, I know exactly what would have happened is that the seller would have said, there is no way I'm doing that. We're going to kill the deal. I'll
Mhm.
find a new buyer. Right. And you start all over again. And who knows how long that process would have taken? We have no idea.
Right.
So, really, just by staying calm, getting the facts, getting true costs, we're on track to close on time. And there's
Mhm.
no $30,000 roof that needs to be done.
So, like with that, like let's say that your agents are getting these crazy deals going. The market is shifting, it's changing, the dynamic is totally different. Other agents are acting a fool, going crazy at them as well. And what it's like being in the front line of all of that in this industry. So how do you keep your team calm, cool, and collected and not burnt out, spent, whatever term that you want to use, down in the dumps when you might be in down in the dumps currently yourself, but how do you make sure that you don't bring them down, you actually turn them around and lift them up?
Yeah, I think that one of those things, to me, like our office meeting and our Tuesdays are one of the most important things. Once it's a sense of camaraderie, right? Because we don't see each other as competitors. We see each other as camaraderies and brainstormers. So one thing that you had suggested was starting the meeting with success. So who wants to share a success, right? So we're not starting the meeting with, oh my God, do you know who did what? Or can you believe
Mhm.
I heard, like, we're starting it with, this is what I'm happy about. This is what's going well. The whole entire meeting itself is typically structured about good activities like new listings, new buyers, right? Those types of things. What events do we have coming up? But it's oddly enough for me about like the time after, which for us is we go on tour. So we typically go
Mhm.
on tour together. And so it's, 2 hours that you're out looking at new houses. And that's an opportunity that, 5 of us are in a group together and you can talk about the transactions and you get a chance to brainstorm together. And for me, it's also maybe the 3 other agents hearing that and like how we work through it so that when they have an opportunity, they'll be like, oh, well, the last time I had heard someone doing that, they did this. I think the other part is just for me, like my door is wide open all the time, right? So, and that's a frustration is sometimes I think agents always think that they're bothering you, but I would much rather have you bother me and we fix it unless that doesn't happen. So I think allowing them to come in, get their frustration out, and then kind of going back to the, okay, but what can we do to solve that? What makes the most sense? But to be honest, it's the other piece of like events. So we had like golf outings last week, right? And it's an opportunity for everyone to get out of the office for a day and have fun together and not think about work. I'm sure we're all on our phones doing stuff while we're there, but it's the camaraderie between holes and afterwards. So there's a part of just like real life that people have to experience together. And I think that then when you get to really know your people and spend quality time with them and know what's going on at home, or, like today we have an agent that has to put an animal down, like, right?
Mhm.
That is super unfortunate. And we're covering whatever she needs covered and we'll be there for her. But, being able to express that to one another and knowing where people stand, I just feel like overall that helps people feel better and calm more often.
Mhm. Yeah. And really what I heard is a multiple different part approach, right? You have your designated meeting times on Tuesdays that's down to business, it's structure, right? But you're still being able to bring the human aspect and celebrate people. We're always going back to the celebration of people. But then after that, when you have these, hanging out for the tours or just hanging out at the office and the camaraderie there, you're still talking shop, if you will, but it's a little bit less formal, but still being able to learn. It's still always a learning opportunity. And then the third was really on a personal level of being able to go and golf for these events. And so it's not just when we talk about culture or how do you lift your team up or these different types of things, people think that there's this easy button, one size fits all type of mentality of how you grow and have this culture. Like you have to create the culture. And that's
Mhm.
where, with this topic, I'm really passionate that culture starts from the top. If you are spinning out of control, if life is spinning out of control for you, and you bring that tornado into your company, it literally is going to rip through your company, and everybody's going to experience what you're feeling as well. It's an energy, it's the vibration. I don't know what other way to be able to say it because there's a lot of times people don't have to say that they're in a shitty situation at home or things are tough or they're frustrated. You can sense it. And like they're just like animals. Like your agents are just like animals. Your teams are just like animals. People can sense your energy. And so when you do that multiple different level, you're really coming at it from every angle and aspect. But I think what's really beautiful about this is the consistency. You're constantly doing this. It's not just one sales meeting a month. It's not just one event a quarter. It's not structured to where you have it just as a checkbox. It comes naturally. And then you do the community events, giving back. You're working back to your team, which really is lifting them all up. And then that stabilizes, in my opinion, during those chaotic transactions or the things that are thrown at them. It's a little bit easier. You don't get so rocked off your kilter, if you will. And then I think the other thing here too, when we talk about events and building the camaraderie and the culture, people people look at like our Christmas party. I go crazy over budget every year on our freaking Christmas party. But events are not, to me, they're not all about the money. It's not about how much you spend or you having to have door prizes for every single little thing. It could be as simple as a barbecue or going golfing or hanging out at the pool. It doesn't matter. There's so many different things that you can do that do not cost money. Does not come from money. When you value people and you pour into your people, that is received and I think is way higher than any currency that is ever out there. So it's not just you have to put this resting bitch face on, hold your cards, and being the stone cold person. It's being a real human and connecting with them, but also not allowing them to just hang out in the dumps or you be the shit talker, the stirrer, and the poor me, woe me sitting there because that's what the kind of culture you're creating. That's the environment that you're putting those people in. It's very thin line of how much do you really show and expose, or and how much do you really hold back as a leader.
And I think, two things is we're definitely from the Midwest. So we're like
Hmm.
old style potluck family.
Hmm.
So, right, like if you're looking for something simple, like have a potluck because everyone's just going to bring in their favorite food. I mean, like we always end up with way more food than we could ever eat, but it's, an hour and a half that
Hmm.
everyone just kind of gets to hang out. We did that last month, I think, for the 4th of July and all sat in the back parking lot and a break from reality. It's a break to talk about what you're doing this weekend, etc. Um, but I think the other thing that we've worked on too is maybe calling each other out when
Hmm.
people do say things maybe that isn't the kindest or like, right, like we
Hmm.
all have moments where you're frustrated and you're like, can you believe so and so did this? Because you're literally like,
Sure.
I can't believe that, which we all have. But then there's maybe times where people take it a little bit too far.
Hmm.
And then someone will be like, okay, but maybe that's not the most appropriate thing. So I think I had told you that, in our Blink communication, an agent had like made a fairly funny post. Probably not the most politically correct, but it
Hmm.
was really funny. But in the same sense, like we don't want that on an ongoing basis.
Right.
So our office manager like saw it and deleted it. And
Hmm.
I gave her props for that because
Hmm.
it was funny and I chuckled. But that's not what we're really going for. But
Right.
right, like she has the wherewithal to know that that's not what our company is about. Do we all chuckle for a minute? Sure. Do we need that out there
Hmm.
for everyone to see forever? No. So
Yeah.
I think it's being able to be aware of that too. Like we can live in our pity parties for a hot minute, but it doesn't help us at the end of the day. And I think as leaders, what is hard is that staff or agents don't always know everything else that's going on, right? So like they get to see one side of you at work. And so there
Hmm.
could be things that are going on in your personal life or your own transactions or the overhead of the whole entire office, right? Like
Hmm.
there's a thousand other moving parts and they kind of maybe just see this itty bitty little sliver that applies to them. So I think that's maybe where it gets hard is to try to be like open with your staff of like sounds bad, but like it's not all just you. Like we have to
Hmm.
move this whole entire ship together. And sometimes I think that's where a disconnect can be. So just trying to make sure that people can understand and see there are a thousand moving parts to get us to the goal line.
Hmm. And everybody's brains processes things completely differently, right? And if it's not right there in front of them, they're not gonna, out of sight, out of mind. Um, and I think that is a blessing and a curse all in one. But really, I'm not saying, you hold the cards back and you don't tell people what's going on, but I don't think that you really tell people the entirety, the full 100% picture, because then, like, you are bringing yourself down, right? Not that they can't help you by any means, but when you're leading a team, I think it's a-okay to be able to say, man, things are tight right now. It's tough right now. The market is shifting. I feel it. I know you feel it. Because if you are feeling it, and obviously we all are business people here, and if you're not selling, that means the brokerage or whatever is not making money. And so therefore it's tight. And I think that it's important to say that, because when those different things start to happen, and the entitlement or the things that you think that they think that they should be getting, all of the signs paid for, all of this marketing paid for, blah blah blah, you're being open and honest with them. And
Mhm.
if you were to hold those cards back and you're not talking about the real lives of the emotional the roller coaster of sales, like, you're not teaching them anything about for their own sales and their own business. So I think it's the time to be able to share a bit of your experience, help them through that process, be able to see where you are at, and now how, as a team, can we work together for me to help you and you to help me, and let's all go in the same place. And when you get that buy-in, that's when you start getting that ship moving all in the same place. And if everybody's going off on their own way and doing their own shit, like, you're going 10,000 different directions and going nowhere all at the same time.
Well, I think the other thing is like this doesn't happen overnight,
No.
right? I mean, like this is years worth of
Hmm.
trial and error, years
Hmm.
worth of like your own pity parties, or maybe, exposing too much or
Hmm.
being a part of the gossipy, whatever, like I think there's a part where you like have to make a fine line. And, I have a little thing in my office that, says lead by example. And like sometimes you just really want to like, and then you're just like, don't do it. Don't
Hmm.
do it.
Hmm.
Right. So I think that that also comes with time. And I think that's the
Yeah.
other thing is, um, it goes back to, I think what we talked about too, is like people just see where you're at right now. They don't understand the last 15 years of what you had
Hmm.
experienced to get to today.
Hmm.
And, I would just encourage leaders to not forget about like what it took to get you here today, but know that more or less like dragging people through the mud with you isn't probably the best approach. It's just putting that aside. And as tough as the times might be, and you can be honest with agents about that too. And sometimes you have to make business decisions that agents don't like. But at the end of the day, like we need to keep our doors open. So we're going to have to
Hmm.
make these business changes. We might have to increase fees because our fees are increased. Like
Hmm.
those are just the things that people don't see and don't understand. And they just like to show up and get all the things included, all the signs paid for. And, they forget that there's, I don't know, you have 4 staff. I mean, I have 2 staff. Like they have to get paid by
Hmm.
business being created and, you know, mortgages and franchise fees. Like there's all these things that people forget have to all be rolling together. And I think it's just where, again, if like people lived with a little bit of grace or realized like maybe I don't have the whole picture, so I shouldn't be so assuming. But, like people that I think that agents that are struggling, I think that that's where, as a leader, you can try to pull them aside and see what they're trying to do. Like, are they spending their time appropriately? There's a chat GPT exercise that I love with people that kind of puts them, it's like, nobody's gonna get mad at chat GPT for
Hmm.
whatever reason, right? Like I could tell you it and you'll take offense to it, but chat GPT will tell you that and you'll be like, oh dang.
Right.
Um, and so I've done it with a couple of clients, right? And then they're like, yeah, I really do suck at that, don't I? Right? But I can't tell them that. So I think,
Hmm.
being vulnerable of what is it that's holding me back, or what is it that
Hmm.
I'm making excuses for, that I'm not making my phone calls, I'm not coming to the office. Like what is that underlying thing?
And you know what? When I used to get really focused on the numbers, and the market is shifting, and the headlines are scary, and everything's, the sky's falling type of mentality,
Mhm.
what I always do is I pull from our MLS, and I pull the full roster of office rankings. And what I do is I look, the people, the offices, the one we're currently above us, how did they get their clients? And then what I do is, instead of focusing on the one that's above us right now, turn around, look at all the people that are behind you. Look at that, the people that are below you on that office ranking. What I do is I look at it and say, man, if I were to stop focusing on trying to go after number one and start focusing on all of these other opportunities that are directly behind me, that would get me to number one, but I'm hyper focused in the wrong area. And so how can I go win these clients? What are these competitors doing to win over clients that I'm not doing? And it's truly a self-reflection time to be able to see, what can I do better? How can I better myself? Because you can't tell me that the opportunity is not there. Because if the opportunity was truly not there, then why in
How
the
is
hell
it
are
growing
there
with
so
you?
many numbers behind you? Like, it's wild to see, but nobody wants to look at it from that perspective. And I did that probably 9 years ago. When once I switched that mentality around, stop focusing on where I'm ranking, but looking at all of the single opportunities that are on that sheet, it really helped drive my how and what I was doing for my business.
I think it goes back to like the death by comparison, right?
Yep.
And I remember people in the past have been like, even if they worked in the same office, right? Like maybe they don't want to work in this office because I do 100 transactions a year and they think that that they won't get any business, right? And I always try to remove that one layer back. I'm like, okay, but we live in a town in an area of about 30,000. So that means there's 29,900 other people that need real estate help. So is that 100 really the problem?
Right.
And I think, a client today was talking about how she is so much farther behind than where she was last year. And it was in listings and made them counter out. And first of all, she was comparing the whole year to, to today. So I was like, okay, well, you got like 5 more months to compare to, but month to month, there's
Hmm.
one less. There's one less, but was giving herself a hard time about being so much
Right.
farther below. And I was like, but we're talking about one. One less listing. Like, is that really the worst thing? You got to remember, there's tons of people that haven't had a transaction yet this year. So,
Mhm.
I think there's always that either you're comparing yourself to what you did last year. And again, it's a different market than last year. We have to be
Yeah.
honest. But, people have their own personal things that are going on too as an agents in life. And so I think it has to just go back to like, are you fulfilled in what you're doing? And
Hmm.
does that have to mean that 15 listings this year or 17 listings this year? Like at the
Sure.
end of the day, like if you're still doing what fulfills you, you're still doing everything that brings you that business,
Hmm.
it's okay. Like things will be okay. That one listing is not going to make or break you. So I think that's just where people have to maybe be a little bit more appreciative of where they're at, what they're doing, that they have the ability to do that. That's the other thing is, you and I have, people that we know that, recently diagnosed with cancer. And I mean, it's frightening and it's been a lot lately. And, they talk about how much it readjusts what they're thinking about. And I think that was a good reminder for us that it could change tomorrow. I mean, are we doing the things that are fulfilling to us? Are there things we need to give up? And are you happy? Are you not happy? Like it's a true thing that sometimes you just have to turn the mirror on yourself and take a hard look at it. And
Hmm.
you might be the problem. Maybe you're not, but do you need help? Are you getting the help you need? Are you asking for help? Like all those things.
Right. It's just one simple statement, right? I need help, and be brave to be able to say it. So I'm going to give everybody a challenge. And that challenge is just take a freaking breath. That's it. Breathe. It's going to be okay. The sky is not falling. It's all right. Let it
Agreed.
be. So, all right. As always, if you would like to be a guest on our podcast, please reach out. Keep the messages coming. We love hearing from you, and tune in next time.
If you've enjoyed today's episode, please like, subscribe, and share with others. Stay connected for more genuine insights and strategies to boost your real estate career on Facebook or check out our website. We'll see you next time.